You know, that wasn't an All-Ireland winning performance.
Probably should have won the game based on their second half performance.
Is it a step too far to say it was the performance so far of the World Cup? Maybe not.
OTB AM's performance rankings with Gillette.
I'm scratching my head. That performances was just lacked that intensity.
You're going to be like Michael Jordan this morning, I hope, right? And I took that personal because about a year ago, it seems, you were like, "Oh, Glen, All-Ireland champions, nail it, oh, it's guaranteed." I don't even think they were club champions, county champions at that stage. Nope. Maybe they were, I don't know.
It was way ahead of the times, Ger. I even had the clip ready to go yesterday. I was like, I'll better take out that clip for when Glen win this evening.
Anyway, go on.
Yeah.
We start. Okay. Where do we go?
Who knows where we're going to start? Can I give a couple of honourable mentions first before we get into the red? Derry beating Tyrone by 12 points in the McKenna Cup final. I watched that on Saturday evening, and Derry look imperious. Very, very impressive, it has to be said. And then the Walsh Cup as well. The crowd that turned up for Wexford beating Kilkenny by 4 points at Chadwick's Wexford Park. Was it 12,500 tickets sold by Wexford?
Yeah.
Incredible scenes for a Walsh Cup game.
The Wexford County Board Chairman is one of the most impressive characters in the GAA at the moment. Also called Micheál Martin, and he is a future president, no doubt. But maybe he could be an administrator instead of president. So
yeah,
you can actually be effective.
100%. And the atmosphere looked electric. I mean, a game under lights does a world of good when it comes to pre-season, and I think everyone has an appetite for going to live matches at the moment as well. So.
Conor McKeown has great details in the piece about how the queue was absolutely massive, but they've managed to finance the lights on time and under budget. And it's a very rare thing in Irish civil life where somebody manages to do this. And bear in mind, they haven't got the massive population advantages that many other counties have, but they've been organised properly in Wexford now for the last decade or so, and you're beginning to see the fruits of it. And the game was a classic. Fireworks, they hyped it up, they sold tickets before Christmas. It was like, oh yeah, that all makes sense. There's a template there. So fair play to them, and credit where it's due. But they don't even make the power rankings this week.
No, they don't. And you know what doesn't? The other thing that doesn't make the power rankings that I wanted to speak about this morning.
Performance rankings. Sorry, the performance rankings. This is now that the power rankings are back, which we will talk about. Don't worry, we're going to get to that. We will.
I wanted to give a special mention.
Performance is a very important word here.
Yeah, of course it is. Our lads and geriatric love, and finding love again in your 80s and 90s as an octogenarian or nanogenarian, I think is the word for someone in their 90s. Buzz Aldrin, first of all, on Friday, on his 93rd birthday, the second man to walk on the moon. Married, a 63-year-old woman. It was his fourth marriage, but best wishes to Buzz, and he says they're like a couple of school kids. And then on the same day, we see Mick O'Dwyer, the Kerry legend, at 86, getting married himself as well, down in Killarney. So special congratulations to himself and his wife, Geraldine McGurr, who is 65, a Tyrone woman as well. I think this will do great things. This could be a turning point in Tyrone-Kerry relations, where finally they can get on and forget
them crossing the divide.
Potentially. But some of the quotes from Micko, there was plenty of photographs of Mick O'Dwyer and his new wife in the papers across the weekend. He says, "So far so good. I've never cared about age. I played football into an old age, and I always enjoy playing it. Age doesn't matter in life. It's all about how you feel inside. If you're happy to be with any individual at any age, then I think it's a great opportunity. It's great to be married again, and I've no doubt it will continue for a number of years to come." He said the pair met, quote, several years ago on the social scene. Described as a lovely woman. So yeah, you never know what's going to happen. He says, what is not to fall for with Micko? This is what Geraldine had to say. "We get on brilliantly. We bounce off one another quite well. I have no interest in sport, but we are great together." So, a bit of geriatric loving going on at the weekend. Caught my eye.
Yeah. A friend of the show who may or may not want me to read, he's like, "Oh, I didn't have Tyrone down as number one in Micko's power rankings." Can we all now agree that even everybody in Kerry thinks Tyrone were the team of the decade in the noughties?
Yeah.
Are we getting?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of respect for Tyrone down in Kerry. I heard the stories of Tyrone players getting clapped off the bus in Kerry for different league games over the years. And there was the famous, was it the year Tyrone won the All-Ireland? They got absolutely trounced and hockeyed by Kerry in the league.
Oh, they did them a favour.
100%.
That was it. They scored 7 goals past them, that was right.
Apparently Kerry had a night out, or Tyrone had a night out in Killarney that night. And
then they were like,
bonded.
Yeah.
And we're like, this is the end of it.
After the game. Sorry, yeah.
Of course, yeah. After the game.
There was something about the pre-match. They were accused of, what were they accused of? Something down in the national park. They were, a full training session, but they'd gone for to stretch the legs. And anyway, look.
Yeah.
You're right. The wonder of love. I mean, Shane, you know, in your 70s or 80s or 90s, you might want some comfort.
You know what?
In life.
I was just thinking, because
and who are we to
No judgment
get in the
here.
way?
Fair play to them. I think it's
love.
great that you're still getting out and enjoying yourself and being like, I'm still going to experience life in all the ways that I can. Like,
Yeah.
fix this.
And would Buzz Aldrin be rich now, Shane? Would he?
He'd be fairly well off. I think he makes about $600,000 a year.
What?
And I only know this because his third wife, who he divorced in 2012, all these figures were released.
Right.
Because I think he either has to give 30 or 50% of the annual income to her and a number of other bits and bobs here and there. So the divorce was a little bit messy.
Right.
But he's found love again.
Some boyo, in fairness.
Some boyo, fair play to him.
Some boyo.
At 93, he still scuba dives and keeps in good
Look,
nick.
I mean,
he does look great. Like, I hadn't
looks
seen
amazing.
pictures of him in ages, and then when you mentioned it earlier, Shane, I looked him up and I was like, you wouldn't think he's that old.
this is actually what you would have predicted for Buzz Lightyear in the years after he becomes a superhero, isn't it? It's like many wives, still scuba diving at 93, going strong, making the press, like just living.
Follows the narrative. But apparently Edwin Aldrin is his actual name, but his little sister used to call him Buzzer instead of Brother when he was a kid, and Buzzer was shortened to Buzz, and that's why he's known as Buzz Aldrin, and hence Buzz Lightyear became a thing. My family were asking me last night at the meal for my uncle, Shane, what's the story you just said? You're 30 this year, you haven't found anyone yet.
Oh.
But you know what? My response straight away, well, Mikko is 86.
No rush.
And Buzz is 93. I've got 63 years on Buzz Aldrin.
You do?
I've got loads of time. Relax.
The difference is, Shane, that they did also have other women in their lives before
Fair.
them.
Okay, Kathy, thank you. Right, okay. But you know what? There's hope out there for all of us. Right? There's hope out there for Mikko and Buzz. So,
Okay.
the two lads. They didn't make the performance rankings, but I had to give them a good honourable mention. Sorry. Will we get into it? We'll get into the red, I think, just to kick that off. The frozen pitch debacle in the WSL. This was something that caught the headlines.
It's a very functional performance rankings this week, by the way. No word puns, nothing. Just
Yeah, 100%.
cold and the names of the teams.
Straight into it. Yeah, no mess.
This is going to be a good solid 4.5 out of 10 show today, is it? Is that what we're like?
That's what we're aiming for. I'd take that. It's a pass, 40%. Chelsea and Liverpool.
I think 3 out of 10 past these days,
Okay,
Shane.
fair.
You're showing your age.
Okay, we'll take it. So Chelsea and Liverpool abandoned after just 6 minutes due to a frozen pitch. I know, Kathleen, you were tweeting the footage from the first number of minutes, and if you put some ridiculous music, if you put the Curb Your Enthusiasm music over it, you'd be like, this is a skit. Everyone's slipping around everywhere. Everyone's falling. It's bound to hurt because the pitch is frozen. And even Emma Hayes saying afterwards, you could see from the opening minutes, it was like an ice rink down the sides. The game should never have started. Brighton Arsenal also postponed. So this match at Kingsmeadow between Chelsea and Liverpool had passed the pitch inspection 2 hours before the kick-off at 12:30.
Well, see, this is the thing. It actually didn't pass the pitch inspection.
It didn't pass it?
It didn't pass. So the referee initially said that it couldn't go ahead, but this was the match that was up for broadcast on the day.
Right.
So all of
Pressure.
a sudden it was like, oh no, we'll actually go ahead with the match, even though both managers had been told that it wasn't going ahead, and both managers didn't want it to go ahead, and neither did any of the players. But they're still, like, once the decision was made, they still had to go out and play. And, like, you can see there's a photo of Erin Cuthbert's thigh, and it's, like, bruised. She's, like, bleeding because she slipped on the ice. It's madness, absolute madness.
What? Who makes these decisions? I mean, I know the TV pressure is on, and it's probably up to the FA and the officials, but I know a lot of people were tweeting kind of the need for undersoil heating and proper facilities. I think Vivian Miedema was tweeting about the fact that, either it's undersoil heating or it's let us play on the same pitches as the men and just sort it out. There's something, as far as women's football has come in both Ireland and England, like, to see this on a weekend with a game as big as this was quite surprising.
It's also the fact as well that only 2 matches actually went ahead in the league over the weekend, because all the other games were called off as well for pitches being frozen. Like Arsenal Brighton later that day was supposed to kick off at like 7:15, called off about an hour beforehand. Fans had already travelled. Lotwoman Moy, who plays for Arsenal, actually left money behind a bar near the stadium for fans and was like, she said, go have a cranberry and a bag of crisps on me. But I think there are a few pints from the pictures I saw of people tweeting from there. But just stuff like that. It's ridiculous after England hosted the Euros, won the Euros, brought so much great attention to the game, that we have like the majority of games not happening at a weekend because there's bad weather. As several players pointed out, they play in a cold country. It's not like they're in, sunny Spain where this happens like once every couple of years.
It's not even that cold. This isn't Norway, There should definitely be a fallback position. I don't know about moving into the massive stadiums yet. Is the atmosphere not crap in big stadiums when they're not full? As a fallback position, no problems. But don't all of the big clubs also have like proper training pitches and facilities that are amazing?
Yeah, well, I suppose a lot of those are not as suited to fans is kind of the only thing. Like probably somewhere like Man City playing at the Academy Stadium, that's probably a good in between because, you know, it's a big stadium, but it's still, you know, accessible to fans and it's not massive. It depends on the club. Like Arsenal have attracted crowds of like 40,000 to the Emirates the 3 times they've played there this year, and the other one that they didn't attract as many to was the Champions League, and that was midweek, and they tend to be not as big turnouts anyways. So I mean, there's arguments there for it either way. I think as a fallback position, if a stadium isn't being used, why not use it?
Exactly, yeah.
Or else if you know that like there's bad weather coming up, there needs to be more in place. Like there's no way they should have gone out on that pitch. It was literally an ice rink, and it's, I don't know, maybe the manager should have said more, the club should have said more at the time and just said, well, we're not putting our players in that sort of danger, especially when we look at the fact that like the majority of the top players in the game right now are out with like ligament injuries, knee injuries, all the sort of things that you're going to get from a slippy pitch.
Well, the footage spoke 1,000 words because Matt Beard, the Liverpool manager, I think it kept cutting to him, and it's like he's just there shaking his head the entire duration of the 5.5, 6 minutes or whatever it was. And even Emma Hayes' comments, she was like, it wasn't playable at 9:30 a.m. So they said to give it until 2 o'clock. There was a section that was quite hard, so they put blowers on it. They tested everywhere else. It wasn't too bad. But as soon as you take the covers off, as she says, it becomes a different situation. So the pitch was just completely not playable. If it was Sunday League, it wouldn't have gone ahead because of all the slipping that was going on.
All right. The other pitch we should talk about is Croker. Has come in from massive criticism from particularly the hurling fraternity, who said, this is unacceptable for the biggest club game of the year. We'll get to the situation at Croke Park in a moment, but okay, who else in the red?
Yeah, we're going to put Frank Lampard and Everton in the red. I think, unfortunately for Frank Lampard, he's been in the red quite a bit of late, and rightly so. Now, he fronted up in his post-match interview, as managers tend to do in this scenario. Says he absolutely does not fear being sacked after his side were beaten 2-0 by West Ham in the league on the weekend. Jared Bowen with the 2 goals for West Ham in that one. So Everton without a win in the top flight since October, and stuck in relegation battle in 19th position. Not a good morning to be waking up if you're an Irish Toffee fan this morning. 6 defeats and 2 draws on this current run of form. Lampard's longest winless run as a manager in league competition, which is really, really poor. But it was so interesting that he's coming out afterwards saying, I don't fear the sack. Maybe he's going to say that regardless. Farhad Mashiri kind of doorstepped by the Sky Sports reporters after the game, and he was saying, it's not my decision. I don't know whose decision it is, but he would have to feel like he's close to the sack. Like that was Mashiri's first time at a match, I think, in 14 months, watching the team.
Not a great sign though, is it? It's
no.
It's like, oh, hello.
Yeah, which is strange.
Oh, hello, Grim Reaper. Oh, look, what?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a white horse, is it?
I think Lampard came out afterwards and was like, I'm used to, managers and owners, or owners not coming to see us play. That was the same at Chelsea. Owners didn't see me play for quite some time for the 18 months or so I was there. But I mean, this per run of form, you'd imagine, will spell the end. They're out of the FA Cup, they're out of the League Cup. It's not like they have a trophy to kind of fall back on and have some sort of hope.
Arsenal up next.
I mean, come on, like what are you going to do if you're the Everton board? And I know that the fans are quite supportive of Lampard, considering the results. They know and they feel that this is the board's problem. It's not necessarily Frank Lampard's issue. There probably needs to be a massive overhaul of players at Everton. It's just kind of come to the end of an era, of a cycle, as things tend to do, a bit like Liverpool, but maybe worse. But 1 point from the last 7 league games. I mean, 3 wins from 15. I mean, it's just not good. I think I'd be surprised. I'm hearing Duncan Ferguson's name this morning being heavily linked. I
feel like he comes up every time though.
He does,
there's
doesn't
a change.
Big Dunk, yeah.
Has he not got a job?
He's been out of work since he left.
Oh right, I thought he had a.
Yeah, he didn't pick up any work, but maybe that speaks volumes. Wayne Rooney will no doubt be in and amongst it. Sean Dyche, you'd imagine as well. I think Pochettino will be holding out for the Spurs gig when it comes up at the end of the season.
Pochettino.
No doubt. I know.
Like that, there's delusional, and then there's like, Pochettino might take the Everton gig.
You never know.
Everton are going to find it very hard to find a credible manager. I mean, I guess you go in and you think, okay, well, if we go down and I get fired, I'm going to get paid relatively well.
Dyche would take this, would he?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. It seems right up his alleyway.
But then the Everton fans, the delusional ones who are like, oh no, we want Lampard, and we couldn't have Benitez, and we couldn't have any of those other managers who don't play football in the Everton way. It's like, oh, right, I think they do play football in the Everton way. And so I don't know, maybe they don't want Dyche.
Yeah, who knows? But I would imagine the next few days will tell all. We'll move on because there's so much to get through. We'll move on to the Amber, and this is Kilmacud. Kilmacud's 17 men, 16 men, I don't know exactly what we're going with, but they're in the Amber because it was an excellent performance, a big win. They won the All-Ireland Senior Football Club Championship for the first time since 2009. Darragh Mullen, man of the match, full forward, was brilliant. I mean, I'm sure Robbie Brennan had his PTSD from last year's last gasp win for Kilmacud in his mind as Glen were pushing forward towards the end. Shane Cunningham, the captain, was brilliant.
Conor Glass had a chance to win it. It would have been one of the most dramatic finales of all time, and it might have prevented the massive controversy we have, because it's a proper... So the tabloids are the ones who were reporting on this Sweet 16 for Crokes, and they're like, oh yeah, okay, he's 16 men. Now, we should bear in mind that, right, like it was 16 or 17, depending on what angle the counting is done from. Not so Sweet 16 for Glen, as Crokes win ends in controversy, and extra men sink Glen, which is kind of, baldly stating the fact. That's on Jason Byrne's piece in The Sun. Bear in mind, this is a team who last year had snatched defeat from the jaws of victory, right?
Yeah.
And as you say, there's PTSD from the previous year. So how do you get over that? Well, you have loads and loads of extra men on the field at the last minute when the ball is coming in. Like, it's not like this didn't have a material impact.
Yeah, it's a perfect way to win, isn't it? Just for people who aren't aware of this, 63 minutes on the clock. It's a double substitution by Kilmacud. So number 10, Fox, comes on. Number 20, Paul Mannion, comes off. Number 19, Casey, on. And number 14, Darragh Mullen, off. But do they go off? I mean, the footage would appear not. So Mannion hadn't left the field when Danny Tallon kicks the 45. The referee's arm is still in the air, and he appears to be under the Hogan stand side. Very much in earshot and eyeshot of the 45 kicker. And Darragh Mullen, who was one of the substitutions taken off, was on the goal line for this 45. The 45's taken short. Ultimately, it ends in a wide for Glen. The resulting kick out, the referee blows the whistle, the game's over. It's only a short amount of time, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Malachy O'Rourke's going berserk on the sidelines. Glen are apparently to seek clarification from the Central Competitions Control Committee. I don't know what's going to happen from this. I'm just looking at some of the quotes here.
You can't let the result stand. You cannot credibly, at the end of your entire season, have too many players on the field of play and let the result stand. Now, ideally, Crokes will be kicked out, I think, because they're the ones who have screwed up.
I agree with you. I agree.
That's what should happen.
Yeah.
And there shouldn't be this, we could find them. Now, the other thing is, it shouldn't be up to Glen to seek clarification or ask for a replay. Straight away, you come out and you go, this is a significant screw-up, as embarrassing a screw-up as there has been in an All-Ireland final that we can remember. Can we remember anything as bad as this?
It's 2010. It's Louth Meath, isn't it? Like, is that the last time I remember something as farcical as this? There's maybe not as much being said about it.
It's a fact, everyone definitely knew at the time as well, in the sense that, you talk about, I saw Malachy O'Rourke down on the sidelines, I was at the game, he was going mad. The Kilmacud background staff as well, they were also, gesturing the guys to get off because they could see that the ref on the side was getting annoyed at the fact that they weren't coming off. So it's now they're talking today and they're like, oh, the lads were just time wasting,
Then they're doing it with knowledge.
This is the thing.
It certainly looked, they were gesturing at players to come off the pitch. I saw that from the side.
So how is this not...
I was in the Hogan stand.
How is this not cheating? How is this not an egregious example of cheating, right? What we do, we'll have extra men on the field of play. Oh, it's gamesmanship. It's not. It's not gamesmanship.
It's worse than that.
In the last moment of the game, you have more players than you're allowed to have on the field.
It's a 15-a-side game and they had more players than that on.
You can't let the result stand.
No.
You cannot let it stand. Alternatively, you let it stand and there's a fine, and then next year, when there's a free to win a game, you just send on the whole team, subs and all. Just pitch invasion. What are you going to do? Oh, the game's over now. Sorry. Result on the field is, we don't know what to do.
Yeah.
You can't let the result stand. And it should not be up to Glen. But if it is up to Glen to make some noise, then they've got to get out and make that noise and not be seen as bad losers, because they're not being bad losers. There's a ball landing. I'm sure we saw it in the semi-final.
Yeah.
Crokes were like, oh my God, what's going to happen here? a 6-point lead becomes like having to catch the ball under their own goal line in the very last second of the game to prevent it from going to extra time. So it clearly mattered. It clearly has an impact, a material impact on the result of the game. So I think if Crokes have any sense here, they're like straight out going, okay, replay, lads, because
get ahead of it.
The worst outcome. A fine for Crokes.
I mean,
it would be absolutely meaningless.
The thing with Glen as well is that, like, I don't think anyone believes that this is how they would want to win the championship at all. And like, I could see from like Malachy O'Rourke's side if he's just like, look, that's not what I want. But it's like you're saying, this is about the integrity of the game. It's actually, it almost goes beyond them winning a club championship. It goes beyond winning a game. This is about the integrity of what happened on the pitch and the fact that Kilmacud cheated.
Malachy's comments are along those lines. He said afterwards he's not in favour of objecting. He says, I can't speak for the club or anything else, but I don't think that's how the club operates. He's too nice in that regard, Malachy, on this situation. The chairman, though, is coming out stronger.
Yeah,
he says,
well, look,
made aware.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's this, you can't be seen to be given out in the GAA. It's like, well, I mean, that's what? Just play by the rules.
Yeah.
Have the rules be the rules, and then have that be the situation that everybody knows is going to be followed.
Well, here's what the rules say. So Colin Keys is reporting on the rules this morning. So under the rules of specification and control 6.44BI, in part 1 of the official guide, the award of a game to the opposing team, a replay or a fine, is the suite of penalty options for a team that breaches the regulations regarding an excessive number of their players on the field at one time. So this can come from a, quote, proven objection, or a, quote, inquiry of the committee in charge, which in this case is the CCCC. And Colin goes on to say it's not as black and white as it once was, with a depending on circumstances clause now giving some latitude as to the extent of the penalty. So the onus appears to be, for some reason, as Colin is reporting, on Glen.
That's ridiculous.
Like the CCCC can still weigh up what's going on here and determine if there was an advantage to Darragh Mullen being on the line. But of course it's an advantage because it's an extra man in the eye line of the Glen players.
It has a massive knock-on impact. I'm sorry, it has a massive knock-on impact in that last second. Maybe they would have floated the ball into the like instead of taking it short and doing what they did, which by the way was either incredibly creative or a complete accident, but also flashes just wide, and then the keeper wouldn't have been safe to go, okay, that's going wide because I know where I am. Like, it has a massive knock-on impact. I'm not saying that they would have won.
No, of course not.
No one is saying that, but it doesn't matter.
No,
it doesn't matter. It's like the famous Offaly game when the Offaly fans came out and sat down in the field of play. I don't think they were going to beat Clare that day, to be honest.
No.
But we don't know. We don't know is the thing. You can't tell. Now, there's a comment here I just wanted to get to about, where is it? Fergus Keogh says, it's not cheating if the Crokes management were calling the players off, but the ref let play go on with too many players on the pitch. It's crap officiating. That's right. It's always the official's fault. It's never our job to know the rules and make sure that the players are off. It's always somebody else's fault. You can always find a little thing to wriggle off the hook in the GAA rule book and go, it's not written. It's not written. It's like, but just take responsibility. It's your fault if you've got too many players in the field. You have to carry the consequences for that, and the consequences should be serious because it's an All-Ireland final. Yeah. It's the end of the season. These guys have literally been training. This is like the longest competition of all time.
We talk about often the GAA not learning from past mistakes, right? There's a comment in here from Sean on the YouTube. Navan O'Mahony's played an extra sub in Meath Championship semi-final against Dunboyne in 2005 and were kicked out. I've got an article open here from the Independent in 2005. So Dunboyne clubs and Peters have lodged an objection over Navan O'Mahony's alleged use of 4 substitutes during extra time of last Sunday's Meath Senior Football Championship semi-final. Only 3 were allowed. And the Dunboyne PRO comments, this rings home. He says, we would prefer if we didn't have to lodge an objection and instead that action would be taken by the county board because of the breaching of a rule. Why is this being, like, this is 17 years later and it's happening again, and all of a sudden it's down to the club to lodge an objection?
Yeah, the whole depending on circumstances malarkey is like, no, cheat and you get kicked out. That should be like the whole we can fine you because, you know, maybe that's the thing to do if you're like 17 points up and you put one on. Well, you're supposed to know the rules.
Yeah,
we're trusting you not to cheat in the competition, and in this instance I don't think it's with malice aforethought, although if they knew that there were too many players in the field of play and they still were like, yeah, that's okay, I don't know. Yeah. Look, here's the thing, we shouldn't be talking about this.
No.
Maybe Glen were going to steal it with the last second winner, who knows.
Look, Glen probably feel reluctant to even talk about it because they had their own goal chances to win the game normally fair and square anyway,
and points chances.
Yeah, of course.
Tap over those points when you're through 1-on-1 and there's a man inside
100%
and you miss the ball, like just kicked.
I mean,
hand pass it. We'll make an exception for you. You can hand pass that one over.
Farcical. And the pitch you mentioned, Ger, at Croke Park, and some of the quotes from the Ballyhale Shamrocks manager, Pat Hoban, like trying to rise the ball on tarmac. He said it was not fit for a training session. And he says, yeah, for an All-Ireland final, if that was the pitch, you wouldn't train on it. That's farcical. And you could see from the TV screen, you were there.
I was there.
Kathleen,
the pitch was awful. It was the first thing I commented on when I sat down on my seat. Like, there was just massive patches where there was no grass.
And was it awful before the hurling started?
Yeah, it was bad both times. But like, that's the thing. Like, I know it had been raining and stuff, and I was kind of like, oh, maybe that's affecting it. But I don't think that is it at all. Like, it was literally like that from the very start. You could see the exact patches. Like, players were trying to avoid certain parts of the pitch because they were slipping so much. Like, even the penalty that Kilmacud got, I was doubtful watching it at the time, and he did seem to kind of slip as he went down, and that made it look a lot worse than it actually was. And that was the same corner the players continually slipped on throughout the game. So yeah, I don't know what they've done to it since the Garth Brooks concerts, but you'd want to hope that they get it fairly sorted, fairly fast.
Well, it was covered for 2 weeks for the Garth Brooks concert, and then it was relayed after that. So, yeah. I mean, Garth Brooks is to blame here, isn't he?
No, I don't think so. I don't know what's going on.
Well, but there's
been
so
a
many
running
games.
thing since then that the pitch hasn't been recovering as quickly. So, I mean, whether it was relayed wrong or there's some issue with that, I don't know. But
I'm sure they'll get it fixed. They've a track record of getting this thing fixed whenever there's a bit of heat on it. So, and I mean, metaphorically as opposed to like putting the heaters on, like they actually have. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, move on to green. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you think is going to happen? I think nothing's going to happen. Something should happen.
Yeah.
It'd be ridiculous if nothing happens.
I think it'd be
Come on, Glen, get your lawyers going. Come on.
Yeah. Make something happen. I foresee nothing happening, which worries me. But you'd imagine in the next day or two we'll hear from Glen and they'll make their decision either way. They shouldn't have to make that decision themselves. But anyway, such is the reality of the GA at the moment. In the green, Kathleen will be loving this. Arsenal. So
I need 2 tickets for Arsenal Man City. Can anybody get me 2 tickets for Arsenal Man City? How do we do this?
Shout out. Well, David Myler sorted me, so who does he know?
Oh, right.
Just casually dropping that one again.
Are you allowed to say that, Shane?
Well, he said it on air. It was on OTB Football Saturday. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
He literally got in touch with Harry Maguire, the club captain, which helped.
Yeah. Harry Maguire not playing for Arsenal or Man City at the moment.
Neither. No doubt Myler's played for someone involved with either club. So yeah, someone get chair tickets. Tough to get tickets for Arsenal at the minute because the way they're playing, they're champions elect, aren't they? I think Gary Neville in commentary said it was a retro feel to the game yesterday.
Yeah, that was a good line.
It really was. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it. As a United fan, it kind of had the Keane... You could feel the ghosts of Keane and Vieira and Youngberg and all these lads. And they're all, of course, alive and well. But you could feel their ghosts. It felt like it was at Highbury.
Hello, Freddie. Hello, Thierry.
Yeah, all the lads. It didn't feel like an Emirates game. It truly felt like this was Highbury. And this was 2005 or 1998 for the previous generation. This was a proper Arsenal United game of old. And I think the game needed Marcus Rashford opening the scoring the way he did. Brought Arsenal... I mean, Arsenal were the better team throughout. But I think United needed the opening goal to make it a game. And I didn't expect United to equalise after Saka giving them the 2-1 advantage early in the second half. But the Martinez header really gave us a proper finish. And bombarding the United goal for the last 10-15 minutes. And United can point to the Casemiro absence, but as Roy Keane said afterwards, you're going to have players missing.
I know. It turns out he's very important, and that's not a bad thing. Like it's going to help to just foster that sense of adoration that he has from the fans, which obviously has already happened. So it's funny, you all, as Man United fans, seem relatively happy with life, even though you've been beaten 3-2. Ten Hag not happy, but you're back. You're like properly back. One more transfer window, getting rid of the last bit of dead woods. Whatever happens with the goalkeeper, the decision gets made. I did think Wan-Bissaka gets caught for the goal, and it's like still not at a level yet where you're like, oh wow, this is incredible. But getting something out of him, the journey will be long, but the turnaround has been really fast, and the Arsenal journey is like a pretty interesting template to follow, where they went and spent massively, and it really helped.
Well, I think United can focus now on top 4 and maybe winning the trophy. They've got the Carabao Cup semi-final first leg this week against Forest. They've got the FA Cup 4th round against Reading at the weekend. Like, they can definitely go for a trophy and finish top 4. That would be a good season for them, considering where they've been of late. But Arsenal at the minute, I mean, Eddie Nketiah, the unlikely hero.
Saka's goal as well. I feel like that just sums up where Arsenal are at the moment. That like as such a young player can take on a shot like that, score, and he tried it again like a couple of minutes later. That one didn't go in, but like it was close.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect Eddie Nketiah to step up when Jesus was out, but 13 goals in his last 13 starts. All of a sudden, he's brilliant. And Zinchenko, we've already mentioned. His ability to link defence with attack. I'm shocked, and I said it last week on the show, I'm shocked that City let him go. But Arsenal clearly are making moves. And Trossard, another signing as well, who came on and was lively towards the end. I think he'll do great things with Arsenal.
Yeah, he was a bit of a bargain.
100%.
The type of good signing that
£21 million.
Good teams make. Okay, very quickly, last one.
Yeah, last in the green.
Haven't given this enough time, by the way.
No,
we should have
we
given this. We should have done 25 minutes here on Evan Ferguson.
Yeah, the Irish stars. So what are we saying? Evan Ferguson, Padraig Harrington, Rashida Adeleke, and Mark Allen. I mean, what more can you say? Evan Ferguson breaking records all around him. That goal was. It wasn't just the goal. It wasn't just the fact that he equalised for Brighton against Leicester so late on. It was the fact that he straight away is thinking, let's grab the ball out of the goals. Let's go get a winner. They didn't get that winner, but he's got the attitude, Evan Ferguson. That famous
Off
Meath
the
quote,
bench.
Yeah, off the bench.
That's great though as well. It's
Fantastic.
I'm responding to having Danny Welbeck taking my place.
Yeah.
You know, many other people have not responded well to being dropped in the past. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, 3 goals and 2 assists in his 5 Premier League appearances, 2 of which have been off the bench. So that's a goal involvement every 40 minutes, the Premier League tweeted yesterday. The best ratio among players who have played at least 90 minutes in the competition this season. He's unreal. Stick your shyness in your back pocket, the famous Meath lad said to Sean Boylan. Why can we not get bloody excited about these people? Why can't we get excited? We're going to get accused of the hype train with Evan Ferguson.
Yes,
calm down,
get
relax.
on board, choo choo.
Start him against France, throw him straight in there. I don't care if he hasn't played a competitive game for
The
Ireland.
thing is, this is the first weekend where I've actually seen non-Irish people get really excited about him and be like,
100%.
oh, this guy is actually really good. Like all the English journalists were talking about him over the weekend.
Yeah.
The star is going beyond just us being like, oh, this could be great for someone for us for the future. Everyone else is starting to get on board. And I think when that happens, you're like, well, we called it.
Harry Kane's replacement at Spurs.
Oh, Jesus, Jerry, you've called it.
That's my prediction.
But whatever Roberto De Zerbi is doing with him at the moment, stick there. You're 18, Evan, you've got a bit of time, but we're going to get excited about you.
Yeah, Rashid Adeleke as well.
Let's get excited about Rashid Adeleke.
First run of the season, mid-season training, and
Smashes their own record.
Yeah.
So smashes their own record. So this is in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Winning time of 22.52 seconds at the Martin Luther King Invitational. The fastest indoor 200 metres in the world this year. Let's get excited about these young Irish talents.
It is January, but that's okay. Yeah.
I don't care. It doesn't matter. She's only 20. Midway through her junior year at the University of Texas. She's 25th on the world all-time 200-metre list indoors. 25th in the world all-time. She's incredible. She was in the outside lane, which apparently is preferred in indoor sprinting as well. Powerful finish. And she took second place as well in the 60 metres, 7.2 seconds flat there. And she's running really well. There's going to be a big 2023 for Rashida Adeleke, you'd imagine. But the way she's going, she's fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's get excited about her.
Padraig Harrington burning it up, nearly getting himself back into contention.
The old fogey, yeah. Just short in his bid to become the oldest winner in the DP World Tour history. Didn't quite get there, but I mean, a 4th place finish.
Well,
what more do you want?
Yeah, well, I mean, contended a major this year, not beyond the bounds of possibility. Literally earning more from playing golf at the moment than he has at any stage in his career. And they were kind of joking about, the start of his Ryder Cup campaign. That's it now. It's like, actually, you know what? Is he? Could he?
He could do it. 51 years of age, Padraig Harrington.
I'm certainly not betting against him.
Yeah, look, I'm not surprised that he can do the 51, given Buzz Aldrin and Mick O'Dwyer can do it.
Did we get everybody in there?
Mark Allen, we just finally mentioned. I was up late watching him finish off at the World Grand Prix. Dramatic final. He was 6-2 up after the first session in the afternoon, 7-2 up, then 8-4 up. It was the first to 10. Joe Trump gets back to 8 all. Allen goes 9-8, 9-9. Decider then. Mark Allen lumps over the line in the World Grand Prix. 100 grand for his troubles as well. So
nice.
A great weekend for the Irish lads.
All right. At 6 minutes past 8, that is today's version of the Gillette Labs Performance Rankings.
OTB AM's performance rankings with Gillette.